welcome back to Terry Travels. Okay, I'm a 51-year-old female from Canada and I solo travel. I work full-time and I hold down a couple of part-time gigs that help fuel my wanderlust. One of the ways I'm able to travel kind of as often as I do is by cutting down on expenses and traveling as a budget traveler. And one of the ways I cut down on expenses is through my accommodations. Now, there are tons of accommodation options out there for the budget traveler. There are cheap hotels, Airbnbs, guest houses, couch surfing. That's great. I actually host a lot of couch surfers here from around the world when I'm home in Canada. And hostels. Today, I'm going to talk about hostels because that is where I prefer to stay. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions around hostels and what it's like to stay in them. And I probably had some of those myself in the beginning. I'm hoping that this video can change that for some of you. All right, so let's start with some of the hostel questions that I've been asked. And the number one question is, aren't you too old to stay at a hostel? Well, that's rude, and no. There are lots of young people at hostels, sure, but there's lots of older people there too. They're not strictly for young people. And travelers are travelers in hostels. Nobody's based on age, at least not that I found. It's up to you what type of hostel you choose to stay in. I mean, if you want a chill, relaxed hostel, there's those out there. If you want a party hostel, you can stay at a party hostel. I have heard of some hostels that set an age 30 limit. I've never come across this. And if I ever do, I simply just won't stay there. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's their loss. Another bonus to being older is when you check into a hostel, there's a few questions that you're asked on your little registration card, and one of them is age. And sometimes if there's a lot of young people in the dorm, they may just put me in a different room or a smaller dorm at no extra charge. Because what they're trying to do is, well, depending on availability, hostels try and place you in rooms where you're going to have the best experience. So if you're Canadian and everybody in the dorm is German and none of them speak English, they may not put you in there. They may put you in another dorm where there's maybe other Canadians. I don't know how they really do it, but I know that as an older female solo traveler, I have gotten bumped up to better accommodations. So there's that bonus. Oh my God, aren't you terrified to stay in a hostel? The first thing I think is, okay, they've watched that horror flick Hostel. And secondly, no, I'm not afraid to stay in a hostel. All the hostels I've stayed in have been lovely, and the staff as well. I've only ever really met cool and interesting people in the hostels too. No strange guests as of yet. And some of them I'm still actually in contact with. So all of my hostel experiences have actually been really well, and I've always left with all my organs intact. Although there was that one time I had a can of tuna go missing. But seriously, why would you want to stay in a hostel? Okay, this is going to be a little bit longer because there's a few reasons why I like to stay in hostels. The first one is price. They are super cheap. I mean, really cheap. Now, I've been traveling mostly in Central America, so your hostels there average like, I don't know, $5 to $25, depending on whether you want a dorm or a private room. So yeah, super cheap. The other reason I like to stay at hostels is their location. Hostels are generally located in city centers, so it's close to restaurants and sites and all those things. Other times they may be located like on a beach or in a jungle. And lots of times they're located close to bus stations and airports for quick exits or when you're arriving. Other times you might pick a hostel because of its remote location. Like you might pick one that is like a eco-lodge, treehouse, somewhere up in the jungles with monkeys, or you may pick one on a remote island. Totally up to you. What I'm trying to say, I guess, is that there's hostels everywhere. And the last reason I stay at hostels is company and companionship. I tend to be a solo traveler, and when I stay at hostels, there's tons of people there. I don't have to go back to a hotel room by myself, alone, every single night. And lots of hostels have like dinner nights or game nights. Hostels tend to be really social, which means there's always somebody to talk to, hang out with, maybe go on a day trip with, and sometimes you even meet people that you travel with. So when you're in a hostel, you're never really alone. There's tons of people there just like you. When you stay at a hostel, do you have to sleep in a room with a whole bunch of other people? Well, yeah, actually I do. I mean, you don't have to, but I do. I mean, that's my choice. I opt to stay in the dorm because it's usually the cheapest option. And really, I don't mind sharing. I'm only in the dorm room really to sleep. So yeah, I don't have a problem sharing the room. There are other options. You can book private rooms or group rooms, totally up to yourself. Private rooms are really great if you don't like to be in rooms with other people, or if there's two of you, maybe you're a couple. So the dorm rooms generally have like bunk beds, and there's different kinds of dorm rooms. There's like big dorm rooms that have like, I don't know, maybe 8 sets of bunk beds in them or something like that. Actually, no, I've never stayed in one quite that big, I don't think. Yeah, but there could be 10 or 12 beds in there. Most of the dorm rooms I tend to stay in have 2 sets of double beds or bunk beds in them. Sometimes 3, but yeah, I generally seem to be in a smaller dorm. Like I said, bonus, that's usually where they place me, but I have stayed in bigger dorms too. And private rooms, they usually have like a double bed or 2 beds in them, and the group rooms tend to have maybe a bunk bed and a double bed and another bed, just a mixture of beds. Each hostel is different. I usually find the people that sleep in dorms really friendly and respectful. I haven't had too many issues in a dorm room with noise or things like that. And you can always sleep with a mask and earplugs if you think that's going to be a problem for you. Another question is, do you share a bathroom and shower with everybody else? Yeah, I do. And I don't know why this is such a big deal to people. It depends on how you look at it. When I'm in the bathroom, nobody's on the toilet with me. And when I'm in the shower, nobody's actually in there with me. So technically, I'm not sharing them. But I get the point. So I guess the short answer is yes. Yes, you do share bathrooms and showers. However, if you're booking a private room or a group room, sometimes they have their own private bathrooms. And if you're sleeping in a dorm, generally it's like an ensuite, like a bathroom that's off the dorm. And yeah, hasn't ever been a problem. I've never peed my pants waiting to get into the bathroom, and I've always gotten a shower when I needed to. So far, no issues. Plus, there's usually bathrooms and showers in the common areas throughout the hostel. So yeah, I do share a bathroom and a shower, and I don't have a problem with it. And another question is, how do you keep your stuff, your valuables and stuff safe when you're in a hostel? And I guess it's not like a hotel where you can lock your room and you have a safe. Unless you've booked a private room or a group room, then you have a key to your room and you can lock it. In hostels, you tend to use what's called a locker. Kind of like a safe, but you can put your whole backpack into most of them. And some of them that you can't, you just put your valuables, your passport, money, that kind of things into the locker and maybe shove the backpack under your bed. So lockers tend to be either in your room or in the common area, like close to the front desk. You have to bring your own lock. So remember to bring your own lock. You can also bring locks for your backpack. So if you're not locking up your backpack into your locker and you're leaving it under your bed or something like that, you can put locks right on to the backpack itself or lock it right to the bed. Security and Security and lockers, they haven't been an issue for me. I haven't had anything go missing, but I mean, it does happen. So lock your shit up. Other thing is, I don't carry anything with me. I have the most valuable things I have would be my phone and tablet, my passport, and my cash. And really, that's all I can manage. If you saw how many times in the day I went, where's my phone? Where's my wallet? Where's my phone? There's just no way I can manage anything else. Life over 50. Lots of people want to know if there's like a lobby or common areas in hostels. And yes, there sure is. It's like my favorite part of hostels. And generally, when I'm looking at pictures, it's the common areas that make me book there, really. It's generally where you're going to meet people and, yeah, start a conversation. Most of the places I've stayed at have either a rooftop, balcony, garden area. They usually have hammocks and comfy chairs and couches and some place to eat and beautiful views. Yeah, so common areas are like my favorite place to go. Some hostels even have swimming pools and TV rooms and pool tables and all kinds of cool stuff. And don't worry, you're more than welcome to come out to a common area and curl up in a little corner and read a book. Nobody's going to bother you. That is totally acceptable. If you're staying at a hostel, where do you eat? Is there like a restaurant in there? Yeah, there are hostels that have restaurants and bars. Some hostels are like party hostels, have great bars and host events and big parties you can go to, even if you're not staying there. And lots of hostels have, like I said, free breakfast included. So that knocks off one of my meals. So that knocks off one of my meals because that's one of the things I look for in a hostel. And most hostels have a fully equipped kitchen. So I make my own food. And my go-to food when I travel is tuna fish sandwiches. Don't know why, it's just my go-to food. It's simple and I can find a can of tuna fish pretty much anywhere. And thirdly is hostels are generally located, like I said before, in restaurant areas or close to cheap food. So as a standing rule, I eat 2 meals in and 1 meal out. And that 1 meal out tends to be like street food. Sometimes a restaurant, but lots of times it's street meat. Do hostels have a front desk or concierge? Yeah, actually they do. Most hostels have a front desk. Maybe not a concierge, but they can help you book tours, transportation. There's usually all kinds of pamphlets and stuff on the walls you can look at. And they're really good at giving great tips on what to see, restaurant recommendations, city maps, and directions to get to places. I have found the hostel front staff to be super friendly, and lots of times they'll help you practice like languages with them, like Spanish. Sometimes they'll answer questions that don't have anything to do with tours or transportation. Like I will ask them all the time things that I might have seen, or like what's in this kind of food, or if I took a picture of something I'll say, what is this? They're always really helpful and will answer me and tell me what those things are, which is great. Oh my god, aren't you scared of bed bugs? Oh my god, yes I am. Absolutely terrified. Although bed bugs so far haven't been an issue. Haven't seen any, haven't even heard about any. When I book a hostel, one of the first things I do is read the reviews. If there's bed bugs, that's where you're going to find that information. And I'm going to say that pretty much every hostel I've stayed in has been super clean. There's always staff going around scrubbing and cleaning. So cleanliness usually is not an issue. If there's bed bugs, they've been brought into the hostel from fellow travelers. There's a few things that the hostels do to prevent getting bed bugs because they don't want them either. Generally, your room is made of concrete or stone. Your beds are pretty much always made of metal and pushed away from the walls. So those are kind of some steps they're taking to prevent that from happening. One of the things you can do to protect your own self is I carry a silk sleeping bag liner. It Also doubles as an extra blankie for me. And if you sleep on that under the sheets, the bed bugs can't get through the bed liner to the sleeping bag liner and get on you. So hopefully you're not bringing them with you when you get out of the bed. The bag liners are really light and small, and they just squish right into my backpack. And so far I haven't really found the need to use it, but I keep it with me just in case. All right, I think that's it for all the questions. Hopefully this has changed some of your minds on what it's like to stay in a hostel. Also, don't worry about whether or not you're too old to stay in a hostel, because that ain't true. And maybe you're online right now Googling hostels for your next trip. And maybe you haven't changed your mind at all. Maybe you're absolutely, there's no way in hell you're ever going to stay in a hostel. But hopefully you don't think they're as scary as you once thought. I guess that's it. I got nothing else to say. Thanks for watching. Are you too old to stay in a hostel? No, you're not. Happy travels, everyone. Don't forget to click subscribe.